I was just 3 months shy of ditching the vow I'd sworn to my old man on his deathbed when that godforsaken dust storm hit our little corner of the American West. It was the kind of blowout that turns the sky orange and chokes the air with red dirt, stranding folks in whatever hole they can find. And there, barreling into my rundown eatery like a tumbleweed with attitude, was Victor Kane, the most cutthroat food critic this side of the Mississippi. My joint, the Dusty Trail Diner, was the only spot open in this speck of a town in western Montana, and all I had left to sling was Dad's no-frills venison chili. The same damn recipe that was bleeding my business dry. I stood there, heart pounding, as he dug in, bracing for the review that'd nail the coffin shut on this place. But instead of spitting fire, he set down his spoon, and tears started rolling down his craggy face like rain in a dry gulch. Let me rewind a bit. The Dusty Trail had been standing sentinel on this stretch of Highway 12 since the 70s. A throwback with faded red booths. A scarred wooden counter lined with swivel stools that had seen better days. And a jukebox cranking out old country tunes on scratched vinyl. My dad, Thomas Harlan, had staked his claim here at 25, fresh off a stint riding herd on a cattle ranch, and he'd run it with the iron will of a frontier settler for nigh on 5 decades until cancer claimed him 6 months back. I'd taken over, along with his last words rasping out like a final order. Swear to me, Jake, you won't tweak the menu. Not a single item. Folks out here need something steady in this wild world. So, I'd sworn it, and I'd stuck to it, even as I watched the diner wither like sagebrush in a drought. The grub wasn't the issue, it was solid. Hearty fare that stuck to your ribs. But solid don't sell in a world gone fancy. 40 miles down the road in Bozeman, hipster spots were dishing up elevated bison burgers with truffle aioli and craft cocktails. Influencers were yapping about sustainable sourcing and fusion twists. And here I was, 32 and feeling every year, peddling the same venison chili Dad had simmered since Nixon was in office. My ex, Sarah, had laid it out plain when she hightailed it 3 months ago. Jake, you're not keeping your dad's spirit alive, you're embalming it. This town's ghosting out. The diner's on life support. And you're riding it straight into the ground over a promise that's past its prime. Maybe she had a point. Our foot traffic had tanked 60% since Dad passed. The young ranch families drove to the city for eats. Tourists hit the new brewpub in town with its photogenic lattes and avocado toasts. My loyal regulars? They were kicking the bucket one by one. I'd been to 5 funerals in half a year. I was crunching the grim numbers for the umpteenth time that week when the storm roared in. It snuck up like a coyote on a calf. A freak sandblaster in late summer that painted everything rusty and shut down the roads by dusk. By 6 p.m., visibility was zilch. Power lines were hummin' with grit, and my handful of customers had scattered home before it got ugly. I should have flipped the closed sign early and hunkered down in my upstairs apartment. But nah. That stubborn Harlan blood kept me open till the posted 9 p.m. Just like Dad always did. Come hell or high water. At 8:45, the door banged open, ushering in a whirlwind of dust and a tall stranger in a tailored duster coat, now caked in red earth. He was mid-50s, sharp-jawed with salt and pepper hair, carrying himself like he owned the joint despite looking beat from battlin' the gale. Thank heavens, he drawled, his voice polished with a faint LA clip, definitely not from these parts. I've been crawling through this mess for half an hour, hunting any sign of life. You still servin'? Sure am, I replied, 'cause that's how we roll in small-town Montana, hospitable even when you're dog-tired and staring down the barrel of bankruptcy. Grab a seat. Coffee to shake off the chill. Much obliged. He picked a booth by the window. though all you could see was a wall of swirling sand. As he shrugged off his coat, I clocked him better, something familiar in that steely gaze. But I couldn't pin it. I fetched him a mug of joe and a menu, noticing the way he scanned it with that polite grimace I'd seen a million times, underwhelmed by our plain Jane lineup. "What's good here?" he asked, a hint of challenge in his tone that got my hackles up. "The venison chili's our claim to fame.
Been on the board since day one.
Comes with cornbread and a side of slaw. That'll do." He slid the menu back and fiddled with his phone, scowling at the dead signal. "Storms knock out the towers regular like," I said. "Should be up by mornin'." I ducked into the kitchen, thankful I'd whipped up a fresh pot that afternoon. Dad's recipe was straightforward: ground venison from local hunts, beans, tomatoes, onions, green chiles, beef stock, and a spice mix he'd guarded like buried treasure. I'd picked it up osmotically, shadowing him through endless shifts, learning the ratios and slow simmer tricks he swore by. "Ain't fancy," he'd grunt, "but it's real. Like a good handshake, takes time to build trust." As I dished up the chili, topped it with cheese, and plated the cornbread, that old inadequacy gnawed at me. This was soul food, not star-worthy. It warmed folks up after a long day on the range, but it wouldn't turn heads or save a sinking ship. I set the bowl down with butter for the bread and a water. He nodded thanks and dove in. That's when it clicked. Victor Kane, the critic who'd eviscerated a Vegas hotspot with one column, the guy whose pieces in Gourmet Gazette could launch or torpedo a spot overnight. And I'd just fed him Dad's humble chili in a forgotten Montana dive. My pulse raced. I thought about speaking up, maybe begging off on the simplicity, but what did that accomplish?
So
This ain't your scene?
Nah.
I busied myself wiping the counter, sneaking glances. Kane inhaled the steam, took a spoonful, and froze. His spoon clinked down. He stared at the bowl like it had whispered a ghost story. Then, tears, real, unchecked tears, tracked down his face. I was stunned. Poison? Allergy? With no signal and the phone line iffy.
What now?
He dabbed with a napkin, but the waterworks kept coming. Another bite, and his shoulders heaved. I couldn't ignore it. "Sir, you all right? Something off with the chili?" He looked up, eyes rimmed red, voice choked. "Where'd this recipe come from?" "It's my dad's. Same way for 50 years. "Why?" "Every detail. Ingredients. Steps, tell me everything." I slid into the booth, baffled. "Just venison chili.
Meat.
Beans. Veggies. Stock. Spices. Slow-cooked 4 hours. Nothing special." "The spices," he pressed. "What exactly?" "Cumin, chili powder, oregano, and something else." Dad's secret kick. Figured it out by nose, smoked paprika. Just a dash at the end. Kane buried his face in his hands. "Smoked paprika. Of course, mister." "Kane," I ventured, dropping the pretense. "I know who you are." "Did I mess up?" He met my eyes, a storm of emotions brewing. "You recognize me?" "Anyone in food does. I've dined at the Peaks, Vegas. Even Paris. Chefs who've bent over backward for perfection." He pointed at the bowl. "But this chili's the most profound thing I've tasted in decades. It mirrors my mother's recipe exactly, a ghost I thought buried forever." The room spun. "Can't be. Dad whipped this up himself. Or did he learn it?" Kane asked softly. "Think back. Dad opened in 78. Always bragged Jen about his top teacher. But vague. Not grandma, She joked she could burn water. My mom was Eleanor Kane, he said. Before Maureen, Dad, and Hedden, west to California. She slung hash in these parts. Saved every dime for her own spot. Her chili was legend, comfort in a bowl. He savored another bite. She passed 20 years ago. Heart failure. Sudden. Recipes gone too. She cooked by feel. No notes. I chased that taste forever, but always missed the mark. The paprika, I murmured.
Yeah.
Her, hidden fire. Subtle depth. But how'd Dad get it? Kane fished out a faded photo from his wallet. A young woman in our kitchen. Aproned. Spoon in hand. Logan. Arm around her. Young Dad. Backside scroll. Eleanor and Tom. 1979. Best partner ever. Promise to keep your chili pure. So long.
Ellie.
TH. My world tilted. They worked together. She taught him. Must've, Kane whispered. Before California. Entrusted him with her secrets. Dad's dying wish clicked, not stubbornness, but safeguardin' a friend's legacy. We sat there. The dust storm howlin' outside like a banshee. Two strangers bound by a bowl of chili and a snapshot from another era. I felt like I'd stumbled into one of those old Western tales where buried gold turns up in your backyard, only this was richer, laced with family ties I never knew existed. Victor Kane, the man who'd made chefs quake with his pen, was sittin' across from me, eyes still misty, talkin' about his mom like she was a saint of the stove. Tell me more about her, I said, pourin' us fresh coffee. The diner was empty. Power flickerin', but time felt suspended, like the storm had locked us in a confessional. Eleanor was tough as nails, he started, voice steadying. Grew up on a ranch near Missoula. Learned to cook feed in cow hands after long drives. Nothin' wasted, every scrap turned into something warm. She dreamed big.
Though.
Wanted a place where folks could sit.
Eat.
And feel like family, not just fuel up. That's why her chili was magic, venison from hunts. Local chiles. That paprika whisper to tie it all together. It wasn't about show. It was about soul. I nodded, seeing echoes of Dad in that. Sound like they were cut from the same cloth. Dad always said cookin' was about respect for the land, the animals, the people eatin'. He hunted the venison himself till his legs gave out. Sourced beans from local farms. Never cut corners, even when prices skyrocketed. Kane leaned back, the booth creaking under him. She left Montana in '80.
Met my old man in LA.
He was a studio exec. Pulled her into the glamour world. But she never lost that Western grit. Cooked for our family every night, even after long days. When she died, it gutted me. I was 35, building my career as a critic, thinking I knew food inside out. But losing her recipes? That was like losing her twice. I thought about Dad's final days. Hooked to machines in the county hospital.
Still nagging me about the menu.
I figured his promise was just him being bullheaded, holding on to the old ways.
But now?
It was about her, keeping Eleanor's fire burnin'. Exactly, Kane said. And you've been doing it.
Jake.
Even if it's costin' you. Costin' me plenty, I thought. The diner was hemorrhaging cash, bills pillin' up like snowdrifts. Suppliers threatenin' to cut ties. In the West, small businesses like this were droppin' like flies to big chains and online delivery. But admittin' that to a stranger, even one cryin' over my chili, felt like showing your hand in a high-stakes poker game. Mind if I poke around the kitchen? He asked suddenly. See how this survived the years. I led him back, the swing door creaking like an old saloon gate. The space was tight but tidy, a cast-iron stove Dad salvaged in the 80s. A walk-in cooler that hummed like a faithful mule. Spice racks with jars labeled in his faded scrawl. Kane wandered like he was on hallowed ground, trailin' fingers over the butcher block, inspectin' the hanging pots. "This is it," he murmured. "Pure function.
No frills."
Mom hated gadgetry, said it hid lazy cookin'. "Give me a good knife and a hot fire," she'd say. Standing there, I felt a swell of pride mixed with ache. Victor, Anthony.
Wait.
Call you Victor? Victor works. We're beyond titles now. Why the Critic gig? If you loved her simple style, why rip into folks trying to innovate? He paused by the spice rack, finger in the paprika jar. Truth? I was chasing ghosts. Every review, every bite in those upscale joints, I was hunting for that warmth, that hug in a bowl she gave us. When it wasn't there, I'd lash out. Bitter.
Yeah.
Destroyed livelihoods over my own grief. Not proud of it. It hit me then. His infamous takedowns weren't just critiques, they were cries for what he'd lost. So you were judging against an impossible standard, your mom's.
Spot on. And tonight?
You handed it back to me on a spoon. We talked till the storm eased around midnight, sharing stories like old trail buddies. He painted Eleanor as a force, singing folk songs while chopping onions, believing food mended fences better than words. I shared Dad's yarns, how he'd feed stranded truckers for free during blizzards, how he viewed the diner as a community hearth, not a cash cow. They were kindred spirits, Victor said. Your dad honored her by keeping it pure. But Jake, what's next for you? This place. It's struggling. Ain't it? I sighed. Admitting the truth.
Yeah.
Promise or no? We're sinking. 3 months.
Tops.
Before I shutter it. World's changed, folks want trendy, not timeless. He shook his head. Or maybe they've just forgotten timeless. In this Instagram age of foams and fusions, what you got here's rare authenticity, like a clear mountain stream in a polluted river. Then why's the place empty? Frustration boiled over. Why am I scrapping by on scraps? 'Cause it's a hidden gem, and gems don't shine without light. You need to share the story. And I reckon I can help with that. The storm cleared by dawn, roads reopening under a crisp blue sky. Victor headed back to his world. But not before Snag Jin my number. We'll talk soon, he promised, clapping my shoulder like kin. 3 days later, his call came. Wrote something? Not a review, a tribute. To our folks. To the diner. To what food really means. Sending it over. Tweak if it don't sit right. The email pinged. The Chili That Bridged Generations by Victor Kane. I read it breath held.
It was raw.
Heartfelt, no es narc. He spun the yarn of the storm. The bite that cracked him open. The photo revealing our parents' bond. He delved into loss. Legacy. How simple eats trumped fancy plates. And he hailed the dusty trail as a beacon. In the vast American West, where change sweeps like wind, this diner stands firm, a testament to promises kept and flavors that endure. I rang him back, voice shaken. Victor, this is too much. The spotlight. It's what you need, he cut in. For 20 years, I've been a destroyer. Let me build something for once. You gave me back, Mom. Let me save what she started. What if they hate it? What if it's not enough? It's more than enough. Trust the recipe. Trust them. The piece dropped in Gourmet Gazette, going viral faster than a prairie fire. Calls flooded the landline. Folks a-skin hours. Directions. Menu deets. By week's end, Bookings stretched months ahead. I rehired laid-off waitstaff, brought on a line cook to handle the rush. Pilgrims flocked from Seattle to Denver for the chili that broke Victor Kane. They snapped pics, blogged glowingly. But deeper, they came for the heart, a slice of real West, where food forged bonds. As the dust settled literally and figuratively on that viral essay, the dusty trail transformed from a ghost town pit stop to a must-visit haven. Trucks and SUVs lined the gravel lot. Folks in cowboy hats mingling with city slickers and designer jeans. The jukebox spun nonstop, and the air hummed with chatter and the sizzle of venison on the grill. But amid the boom, I wrestled with a gnawing doubt. Was this honorin' Dad's promise? Or twisting it into something commercial? One evening, as I stirred a massive pot of chili, adding that paprika kick right on cue, Sarah showed up. My ex, looking windswept and sheepish, slid onto a stool. Places hoppin'.
Jake. Congrats.
Thanks, I said, wiping hands on my apron. What brings you back? Read the article. Mind-blowing, your dad and that critic's mom? Like fate.
Yeah.
Turns out the menu's more than habit. It's heritage. She fiddled with a napkin. I was harsh before. Thought you were stuck. But this? It's beautiful. We chatted awkward-like. But it planted a seed. Maybe change wasn't betrayal if it grew from roots. Victor called weekly, checking in. How's the horde treating you? Overwhelming, but good. Hired locals boost in the town economy. That's the spirit. Mom would have loved it, feeding folks, building community. But drama simmered beneath. Not everyone cheered. A rival spot in Bozeman, the Fancy Fork, owned by slick operator Mitch Landry, started slinging mud online. Overhyped slop, his post sneered. Real West eats don't need sob stories. Turned out Mitch had a grudge. Dad once turned him down for a job back in the day, calling him too flashy.
Now,
With my success, he saw red. One night, a shady type sauntered in, ordering chili with a smirk. Next day, a review popped up on Yelp. Tasteless. Overcooked. Health code nightmare. But the IP traced to Bozeman. I smelled sabotage. I confided in Victor during our next call. This guy's playing dirty. Could tank us if it spreads. Classic jealousy, he said. I've seen it in big leagues. Document everything, screenshots, timestamps. Montana law's clear on defamation if it's false and harmful. You got grounds. Armed with that, I gathered proof, clean inspections, glowing health reports. When more fake reviews hit, I fired back legally, filed a small claims suit for business interference. Nothing dramatic. Just enough to scare Mitch straight. He backed off, issuing a quiet apology online. Lesson light. Stand your ground, but with facts, not fists. Western justice. Fair and square. Meanwhile, the human side deepened. Folks shared stories over meals, lost recipes from grandparents. Family bonds frayed by time. One vet, fresh from tours, said the chili tasted like home after hell. It hit me. This wasn't just business, it was therapy on a plate. Victor visited again 6 months post-essay, pulling up in a rented pickup under a golden sunset. The diner buzzed. Every seat taken. He eyed the new wall edition, that framed photo of Eleanor and Dad, with a plaque reading, Founder's Legacy, where recipes bind generations. He stood there, trace of tears again. Jake, you've turned this into something sacred. Couldn't without you, I replied. Showed me the why behind the what. Over late-night chili after closing, we dug deeper. I've been thinking, he said. Criticin lost its shine. That essay? It healed me more than any therapy. I'm stepping away. Really? What's next?
A book.
Eleanor's Hearth. Western comforts that connect. Stories. Recipes, ours included.
Want in?
Your dad's notes. Our tales, share the magic wide. I hesitated. But the promise, no changes. This ain't changin'. It's Sharon. Honoring them by passin' the torch. He had a point. We collaborated remote. Me sendin' dad's scribbled tweaks. Victor weavin' narratives. The book blended psych insights, how food triggers memories, heals grief with mystery elements, like uncovering lost ties. Drama came from our personal arcs, my near closure, his bitter phase. Launch day. We hosted a sign-in at the diner. Crowd overflowed media. Locals. Even Sarah. Smilin' supportive. Sales soared. But the win was letters pourin' and readers were creatin' recipes. Mendin' family riffs.
Yet.
A twist loomed. Diggin' for book details. I found old letters in Dad's attic stash. One from Eleanor. Post-move. Tom. Keep the chili alive. If life circles back, maybe our kids cross paths. Prophetic. But another hinted at drama, a brief romance. Our time was short, but sweet. No regrets.
Wow. I konfronted Victor gently over coffee.
Found this.
Were they?
More than partners. He scanned it.
Sighed.
Mom never said, but yeah. Possible. Young.
Dreamin'.
Doesn't change the good. They built something pure. We agreed, no scandal. Focus on positive, lesson in forgiveness. How past complexities enrich present bonds. The book hit bestseller lists. Spotlight in Western culture. Hunt-to-table ethics. Community over commerce. Legally. We dotted I's, recipes as public domain twists. No IP snarls. With the book's success, the dusty trail became more than a diner. It morphed into a cultural touchstone. Drawin' folks seekin' that elusive sense of belongin' in our fractured world. Tour buses rolled in from Yellowstone. Families pausin' by the photo wall. I added subtle nods, a legacy menu section explainin' origins, but kept core unchanged. Promise intact, but breathin'. Drama reared again when a big chain scout approached. Franchise this. Venison chili nationwide. Big bucks. Temptin'. With debts cleared but expansion dreams bubblin'. But Dad's voice echoed. Steady. Not splashy. I turned him down. Opt-in for local growth. Partnered with Montana Farms for sustainable sourcing. Hirin' vets for staff. Humane choice. Profit with purpose. Victor and I grew tight. Like long-lost brothers. He relocated part-time to a cabin near Missoula.
Le vin laisse clar.
Critic life was revenge on my loss. He confessed one hike. Taryn down to fill the void. Now,
I'm Bilgin.
his transformation inspired the book's sequel angle, psychological deep dive into food as therapy. We interviewed experts, therapists notin' how scents trigger healings, like Proust's Madeline but Western style. Mystery element. Folks sending in lost recipes we sleuthed origins for. Reuniting families. One case hit home. A woman from Wyoming emailed, "Your chili matches my grandma's, lost in a fire." We traced. Her gran worked with Eleanor briefly. Recipe chain extended. We flew her in. Shared stories, tears,
Laughs.
light lesson. Connections hide in plain sight. Seek M with open hearts. But not all rosy. Sarah and I rekindled slow dates at the diner. Honest talks. I left 'cause I saw you drownin', she admitted. Now, You're thriven. Yeah, but on my terms. We navigated drama, her city job versus my roots. A compromise. She consulted remote. Help in with social media. No revenge on past hurts, just growth. Legally, we stayed sharp. Book deals included clear contracts, royalties split fair, proceeds donaten to food banks. When a copycat spot in Idaho ripped our recipe, we sent a cease and desist. Settlin' amicable. No courtroom showdowns, Western mediation, talk it out over coffee. A year post-storm, Victor and I hosted a legacy night. Free chili, stories shared. Crowds swelled. Ranchers, tourists, even Mitch Landry.
Hat and hunt.
Sorry for the BS, he muttered. Jealousy got me. Forgiven, I said. Try the chili?
He did.
Eyes widening. Damn good. That night, under starlit skies, Victor raised a toast to Eleanor and Thomas. May their fire warm generations. As folks dispersed, I lingered, cleaning up. The diner glowed warm, a beacon in the vast west. I'd nearly broken the promise, but fate and a critic's tears showed me its depth. Not chains, but wings. The expansion brought introspection. Nights alone, I'd ponder the psychology. Why cling to promises? Therapists in the book explained grief's anchor, stability in chaos. For me, it was Dad's way of saying carry on.
So,
For Victor, unearthing it mended his fractured self. Family drama peaked when a cousin surfaced, claiming Dad owed on old loans. Papers proved bogus, forged. We lawyered up. Montana court swift. Turned out, desperation from hard times. Instead of pressing charges, we offered help, job at the diner. He accepted.
Tinin rival to ally.
Lesson, mercy over vengeance, turns enemies to kin. Victor's past caught up too, a chef he'd ruined sued for defamation. Old review, but statute lapsed. Still, he settled out of court, apologized in public. My words wounded, time to heal. It humanized him, boosted in book sales. We toured small, Western fairs, signings. At one in Cheyenne, a fan shared, "Your story saved my marriage," cooked the chili, talked memories. Impact rippled. Sarah proposed partnership, expand thoughtful, pop-ups in national parks. Keepin' authentic. I agreed. Pilotin' one in Glacier. Success without sellout. 2 years in, the diner thrived.
Ampluin bin locals.
I added classes, recipe revival, teaching folks to reclaim family eats. Psychological boost, building resilience through tradition. Victor's health scare, a mild heart blip, reminded us, life's fragile. He wrote a memoir chapter. Tears in the dust, detailing our meet. Humane end, no grand revenge. Just quiet redemption. Looking back, that dust storm wasn't just weather, it was providence. Stirring up buried truths and forging new paths. The dusty trail stood stronger, a testament to resilience in the American West, where harsh lands breed tough souls but kind hearts. Victor and I co-authored a follow-up book, Whispers in the Pot, Food, Family, and Forgiveness, delving deeper into the mystery of inherited legacies and the drama of unspoken promises. One chapter chronicled a real sleuthing adventure. A reader sent a faded recipe card, claiming ties to Eleanor. We traced it. Turned out, a distant relative who'd branched off. We reunited, at the diner, unraveling family secrets over chili. Tears flowed. Bonds mended. Light lesson. Curiosity heals old wounds. Don't let mysteries fester. Personally, Sarah and I tied the knot in a simple ceremony out back, under Montana's big sky. Victor officiated, jokin' about criticin' the vows. Our drama? Balancin' growth with roots. We expanded to a second spot in Billings, but kept menus sacred, no tweaks. Just stories. Victor's retirement bloomed. He started a foundation. Fund in community kitchens in rural West. No more tearing down, he said. Building up. His once feared name now synonymous with compassion. Legal clarity stayed key. We trademarked Eleanor's Whisper Chili, protectin' without greed, licenses to nonprofits free. When a documentary crew filmed our tale, contracts ensured respectful portrayals.
No sensationalism.
The humane twist came full circle when Mitch Landry approached for collab, joint event. Blendin' styles. No revenge, instead.
Unity.
West's big enough for all, I said. It drew crowds. Showin' competition breeds innovation. But cooperation sustains. Years on. As I ladled chili for grandkids, yeah. Sarah and I started a family. I reflect on the lesson. Promises ain't shackles if rooted in love. They guide. Like stars over prairies. Dad's vow wasn't holding me back. It propelled me forward. Connectin' to Victor, Eleanor, and a wider world. In this drama of life, with its psychological twists and family mysteries, the real wins humanity forgiven. Sharon, endurin'. That bite didn't just save a diner. It redeemed souls. Proven the most potent ingredients, the ties that bind us. Simmered slow and served with grace. And so, the dusty trail endures. A bright spot in the West, where every bowl tells a story, and every promise kept lights the way home.